putem număra pe degetele de la o mână liderii mondiali care sunt modești și firești în ciuda funcțiilor pe care le ocupă. Este o artă să rămâi un om obișnuit, să nu vrei să ieși în evidență cu orice preț, chiar dacă puterea pe care o ai la dispoziție este uriașă. Angela Merkel, cancelarul german aflat la final de mandat, intră în istorie ca un om care a rămas cu picioarele pe pământ, indiferent de criza pe care a avut-o de gestionat sau de succesul pe care l-a obținut. Ambasadorul Germaniei la București, Gebauer, a făcut parte din echipa de politică externă a cancelarului Merkel. Discutăm împreună despre naturalețea unui lider responsabil cu munca lui într-un secol în care aproape totul devine doar imagine. Sunt Cristina Cileacu. Începe Pașaport diplomatic. Pierre Gebauer, Ambassador of Germany in Bucharest, welcome to Diplomatic Passport.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, will be ending her long mandate soon. She is seen as a symbol of European unity. She is a very stable negotiator. She was eager to protect us all. What is going to be the legacy of Mrs. Merkel, since not even Mrs. Merkel managed to, let's say, solve the problems of European Union?
Well, indeed, the Chancellor will be dearly missed, I assume, in Germany as well as in Europe and around the world. She has stood for a policy style always aiming for compromise and for reaching out to others. I think she has gone into a number of negotiations, long nights at the European Council in Brussels, where things have been complicated, where things have been severely discussed, heavily discussed between the various countries. And she always aimed for a solution that would be suitable for Germany, but also for others. And I think this is a strong element of her legacy. And that's why, as I said, I assume everybody will miss her. But it's part of democracy that we have changes in leadership, and so we will have a new government in Germany soon, I hope, and things will continue to be okay.
Before coming over in Romania with the position of Ambassador of Germany, you were working with Chancellor Merkel. Give us some details over her personality, maybe could be an inspiration for some politicians. But also I would like to ask you, what will you use from what you learned from her on your mission here in Romania?
Well, indeed, I had the privilege to work in the Chancellery, in the foreign policy team of the Chancellor throughout the last 4 years, and I had the privilege to attend a number of meetings that she had with numerous heads of state or government of other countries. It's been truly inspiring to see her style. As I said earlier, I think she is very focused on finding common ground and on finding a solution which is a gain for both sides. What I also found always inspiring is the fact that even after such a long time in power, she's been a leader of Germany for 16 years, she always stayed curious and interested. When she spoke to people, she never lectured and explained the world how she saw it. On the contrary, she always asked and listened. And I think this ability to stay open-minded is a very, very strong element. And this combined with a down-to-earthness and a modesty that's truly special, I believe, for anybody who has wielded power for such a long time. So for me, these years have been truly inspiring and educational in the sense that I seen political interaction firsthand. And I'm sure I will benefit from this experience throughout my term here as Ambassador of Germany to Romania. And both of our countries obviously are connected as member states of the European Union, as allies of NATO. And all these aspects will play a role for my daily work here, so this will be surely beneficial for me.
Well, as you said, she had this capacity of trying to find the common ground for every single position or every single topic that was on the table. How do you think European Union will look now after Angela Merkel will not be there to negotiate in its behalf after all? If we are talking about, for instance, the money from resilience and recovery plan, and we are looking at certain countries that prefer to just to take advantage of the money and don't really respect the rule of the bloc.
Well, I think the European Union certainly is facing quite a number of challenges right now. On the other hand, I think there hasn't been any time in the history of the EU where we did not face any challenges. So if you look at the EU on a short-term perspective, you will always find it to be probably in a bit of a difficult state. If you look at it more on a long-term perspective, throughout the last decade, it's been a tremendous success story. I'm an optimist. I believe this success story will continue. But of course, we will all have to work on making this possible, which means everybody, every member state, every political leader in charge will have to make sure that we continue to strive for compromises, that we don't just lay back and pursue our national interests only. So this is an important chore and job for everybody who has responsibility. Will it be possible after Angela Merkel? Yes, of course. We will have other leaders who will take over. I'm very sure that Germany and the future German Chancellor will also play a very constructive role in trying to forge compromises. And of course, we always invite others to do the same. You're right in pointing out that discussions in Brussels, in the European Council meetings, have become more and more challenging at times. But the path we have to pursue seems still clear to me. And that's the path of finding common ground. That has always been the element that has made the European Union a success.
Since you mentioned the future Chancellor of Germany, of course SPD is the oldest party in your country, and the Chancellor will be coming now from them. How will Germany look under the rule of Olaf Scholz? What is expected?
You're right. As things look right now, we will probably soon have a government led by Olaf Scholz, the candidate of the Social Democrats. He has served as a vice-chancellor in the cabinet of Angela Merkel. He's a very experienced politician. And as far as I have experienced him, he's a very sober and rational person that will certainly continue a course of stability for Germany and within the EU. So when you ask about what to expect in terms of changes, I don't see much changes with regard to German foreign policy, with regard to German EU policy. We will, on the contrary, see a continuation of the German role, of the role Germany has played so far in the EU. And I believe this is a good fact and a good news.
Coming back to the European Union without Angela Merkel, because it's pretty clear her mission is going to end quite soon, do you think that we are going to experience again the gap between the vision of the countries from the west part of our bloc and the country from the east part of our bloc when it comes to how we deal with certain aspects, for instance, rule of law?
I wouldn't sense a division between the Western and the Eastern European countries. I think there are various perceptions of the EU which are often within one country, so it's not so much a phenomenon of one country having this philosophy and the other country that.
But it's rather a group of countries, the Nordic countries and let's say the Eastern countries.
Well, that is true, but then you have the Mediterranean countries. I think it just depends on the topic. When it comes to, let's say, migration, a big challenge for the EU these days, the countries on the border, of course, have slightly different interests maybe than countries that are more central. When it comes to financing, it's also not west against east, it's often more north against south or southeast. And this is true for a number of other issues. Yes, we have these questions, and I think the beauty of the EU has always been that we didn't discuss these issues theoretically to the fullest, because we might never agree to, to 100%. We always try to focus on solving the issues that were on the agenda right now, and that's been one factor that led us to move forward, and I think this is the only way to continue to move forward for the time being. Will there continue to be differences? Yes, I assume we will have differences in the future as well. But as long as everybody agrees that we will have to work to keep our union together and strong, then we will eventually get there and we will be successful.
And do you think Germany can still play this role of being the stability pillar inside EU with all these storms, more or less huge or smaller, around?
I think we have to play this role, and we want to play this role. For us, the European Union has been a tremendous success story. Politically, economically. If you look at the history of Europe throughout the last centuries, you will realize that we are living in the best, well, let's say the best time ever, with no wars going on between our countries, with a tremendous increase in economic exchange, with an integration in so many fields that you wouldn't have thought of a few years ago. So we are on a very good track. For Germany, it's a key interest to have a strong EU, and I think this is something that also connects us to Romania. And my first weeks here show me that also Romania is a key and staunch supporter of a strong EU, and I think that's what we should work for together.
Since you are now ambassador in Romania, I have to ask, what are the main topic of your mandate here?
Indeed, there are a number of issues that connect us bilaterally when it comes to, of course, economic aspects, very intense exchange and trade, strong investment footprint of German companies here in Romania and the other way around. That's certainly an area where I want to put a focus on, and perhaps also a particular focus on the aspects of energy, of the transition, energy transition that is necessary in Germany, but as well as in Romania, and also in the field of digitalization and IT, future issues. Of course, we have this strong cultural exchange and partnership, mainly represented by the Germans in Romania, the German minority, wonderful bridge builders that connect us in so many areas. And of course, you have this strong political partnership that I highlighted earlier, being partners in the EU, being allies in NATO, and sharing many, many values. And I think these are areas that I want to put a specific emphasis on and see if we can deepen our exchange on political issues of common interest. Let me just name, for example, the Black Sea region, which is a very challenging one. Romania being one of the countries on the shore of the Black Sea, which can give us wonderful insight and enlighten us when it comes to our perception of developments in this region. So there's a number of issues. I'm very sure that I will never get bored here, and I'm very much looking forward to dip into them.
Let's get back a bit to the security of Europe, not only in the Black Sea area, because security can be seen from various perspectives. Of course, it's defense, but also it's energy, it's climate change, it's migration. Yes. So a lot of other issues can affect security, can influence it. Nord Stream 2 was also in the center of many debates with some European partners and the transatlantic partner, I'm talking about United States. So can you explain us how shall Europe see this project of Germany? Nord
Stream 2 had caused a lot of questions and concern with our partners, and our government had always tried to listen and to explain what the reasoning behind this project. Now, first of all, it's an economic project of delivering gas to Germany on a very short way. And I think when it comes to the question of getting more dependent on a certain supplier, in that case Russia, I would always argue to say that we have just broadened our access to energy from various fields, because Nord Stream 2 is not the only pipeline, obviously, which is through which we acquire our gas. It has a political angle, that is for sure, and of course it has an effect mainly on Ukraine as a transition country, as a main transition country for gas, for Russian gas so far. We have therefore made it clear in our talks to the US and to Russia and also to Ukraine that we would put a lot of effort into ensuring that there is a continuation of the role that Ukraine plays at this moment as a transit country. We are supporting negotiations between Russia and Ukraine in the continuation of the transit treaty, and we have made very clear that we would not accept the use of gas as a political weapon. So we have a number of safeguards there in place to ensure that the fears and the concerns that our partners had are taken into due consideration. But again, it's certainly an issue where I understand that there are concerns, and we have to make sure that we continue to support our partners to alleviate their concerns.
We did talk more about European Union and less about Germany, but since Germany is one of the pillars of European Union, I will continue asking also on this level.
Please.
How does Germany feels if we talk about European Union when it comes to its power of negotiation on the foreign affairs agenda of the world? Because most of the voices, if you hear them, say that the EU is not a strong negotiator, that the EU is, let's say, not that important. EU has only money, but that's it, not power.
You're right. This is a challenge for the EU and for Europe. We are very strong economically. We are very strong when it comes to providing humanitarian assistance and development assistance. We seem to be lacking a bit of leverage when it comes to security policy issues, where we still heavily rely, of course, on the transatlantic alliance. And we do sometimes tend to not speak with one voice when it could be more helpful to speak with one voice. So we have to work on that. I believe that with time, people in Europe and all the European member states will more and more realize that you can achieve more by joining forces. Your voice is heard more when you're willing to side with the other European partners. We do have a European Union consisting of states that have still their national sovereignty. So obviously we are not just one state, and I think for the time being people do not want to be just one country. We're a number of countries. So it means that we have to find a way of nevertheless willing in to joint statements. And I think this will develop further with time. One important pillar of this foreign policy relevance of the EU, of course, is the security pillar. And we are already starting to develop an increased capacity within the EU as a part of the transatlantic security alliance in order to make ourselves a bit more independent and stronger together. And I think this is an important step we are taking. And I'm glad that both Germany and Romania are pursuing this track.
And what about the influences that specific countries of the European Union are receiving from outside, let's say, mainly from the east part of the world?
You're right. Other international actors are, of course, pursuing their interests in ways that might be that are certainly not in our interest, and in ways that are a bit apart from what we would do. We have to be resilient, we have to be strong, and we have to develop means to defend ourselves against these kind of influences. This is not easy. It requires creativity and, again, compromises within the EU and joining forces vis-à-vis these outside threats. But there's no alternative to doing so. We are constantly learning, and I think the stronger other international actors get, the clearer it becomes for us that there is no alternative than doing things together as a union.
Ambassador Gebauer, good luck with the mission here in Romania, and thank you for this interview.
Thank you very much.
Atât pentru astăzi, dar rămânem în continuare online pe pagina de Facebook a emisiunii și pe contul nostru de Twitter. Revenim cu subiecte noi din lumea diplomației și a politicii externe vinerea viitoare de la 11:30 și reluare sâmbătă de la 22:30. La revedere!